Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here in Harrisburg, in the capital of the great state of Pennsylvania. We, as a bipartisan group of elected leaders, are gathered together to declare that Pennsylvania joins with the national movement to keep faith in America. I'm State Representative Brett Miller, and I'm privileged to be joined by other elected members of the General Assembly and members of the public here today as we publicly take this stand in light of our past, which is so rich in religious liberty, and our present, which is rich in the vibrancy of faith. And to say that we believe that this foundation of faith should be guarded and maintained for our state and our nation's future. I'm privileged to MC this event, during which you will hear from several others on the national theme, Keep Faith in America. We chose the rotunda of our beautiful capital to make this declaration because this location contains several important displays which speak directly to the theme of keeping faith in America. Our state's founder, William Penn, established the vision of Pennsylvania to be a land of faith and a land of religious liberty. William Penn understood this because he personally suffered great persecution for his religious beliefs and endured imprisonment for his faith. These sufferings birthed in him a clear understanding of how government should treat people of faith, and he set forth his vision of a land where there could be freedom of religion for all people. Encircling this rotunda is a quote taken from several letters written by William Penn, which says, "There may be room there for such a holy experiment, for the nations want a precedent. And my God will make it the seat of a nation, that an example may be set up to the nations, that we may do the thing that is truly wise and just." Pennsylvania's very existence was designed to be a place of faith and religious liberty in order to be an example to the nations. Behind where we are standing is the beautiful mural entitled "The Spirit of Religious Liberty," which depicts William Penn and other believers who were persecuted for their faith being escorted by angels as they departed from Europe to go to the new land of a holy experiment, to live out their faith without fear of government oppression. Clearly, faith has had a prominent role in the founding of Pennsylvania, but it also plays a prominent role in the life of Pennsylvania today. One needs only to take a cursory look around to see the many churches and places of worship, the many faith-based schools and religious institutions, as well as the multitude of faith-based ministries which are run by people who want to live out their faith by reaching out to those who are poor or hurting in order to bring them vital resources, hope, and healing. Actions of kindness and compassion are readily seen by individuals who daily put their faith into action. Clearly, faith is still on the move today. And yet we are seeing an increased hostility towards those who attempt to live out their faith. We routinely hear news reports about attacks on faith-based groups or individuals. Sadly, there is a desire by some to belittle or diminish the place of faith in one's life. Some want faith to be unseen, unmentioned, and unlived. But we are here to say that faith is alive and well in each of us personally and in Pennsylvania, and faith should not and must not be discounted or cast aside. Enumerated prominently in our United States Constitution as the very first right is the freedom of religion. It says, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof." This respect and preeminence given to religious liberty is plain to see. Religious liberty is not an afterthought or of secondary importance. The practice of one's faith is highly prized and is to be protected and given room in our society. In reality, the First Amendment is just a recognition of what is, and what is meant to be. Pennsylvania and our nation was birthed in faith, has lived in faith, and lives in faith this day. And faith must remain an essential component of all that Pennsylvania and our nation is and will be for generations to come. In the midst of our different backgrounds, political parties, and perspective, as well as our different faith traditions, As elected leaders, we strongly desire to live out our personal faith in our personal and public lives, and we want the same freedom for every person. And as faith is foundational to each of us as individuals, so too is faith foundational to the success of our government, our society, and our nation. Yes, we have problems, but we believe that with faith and a firm reliance on God, if we humble ourselves and pray, God will hear from heaven and will heal our land, and that the blessings of heaven will pour down upon us. Truly, in a land of faith, America's best days are yet to come. So we as citizens and elected officials say with the loudest voice that we gladly add the name of the state of Pennsylvania to the national effort to keep faith in America. At this point, thank you. At this point, I'd like to introduce my Democratic colleague, Representative Brian Barbin, who would also give some comments on this important theme. Representative Barbin. Thank you, Frank.
Welcome. That was the ship that William Penn brought all of the believers from Europe to found this great Commonwealth. Some were Quaker, some were Puritan, some were Protestant, some were Catholic. All came, all had the same right to worship in accordance with their own conscience. Today, like Nehemiah, we gather here as watchmen on a wall to proclaim the Lord God is the Most High. Bless the Lord for all that He has provided to Pennsylvania and to the nation. It is altogether fitting that we stand here and we under the dome, 272 feet tall, 52 tons, sitting on a foundation that William Penn left for the world. He didn't leave it for just Pennsylvania. He didn't leave it just for the 13 colonies. He led it as an example for the world. We are to remember that we are a holy experiment, the only holy experiment. He wrote the constitutions for 13 of the colonies, or for 3 of the 13 colonies, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, all establishing the right of religious liberty. Today, as we stand up, we say, bless the Lord forever and ever, because it is the cornerstone of our Commonwealth and our nation. We remember that this cornerstone is the first unalienable right of this nation. It was provided because William Penn said in a document called the Charter of Privileges that you will have this right no matter what. He gave his right, as well as the right of all of his sons and daughters. He gave this right to Pennsylvania to ensure that no matter what else happened, that the foundation of Pennsylvania would be based on God. That inspiration is what led Thomas Jefferson, the man who claimed William Penn was the world's greatest lawgiver, to write the following words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, we join all those assembled in asking the Lord's blessing, His forgiveness, to bless this place as the cornerstone of America's democracy, which is based on God. It's based on a God as each one of us sees in our own heart the selflessness of God, the covenant of God that allows our republic to survive. Our republics only survive on virtue, and virtue is selflessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Barbin. At this time, what I'd like to do is introduce Senator Eichelberger, who will give some comments as well. Senator Eichelberger.
For those of us that work here, we see on a daily basis the reflections of people over time about God's blessings on this nation, whether it was from the inception of the nation and prior to that with William Penn. In the Senate chamber, we have the creation of a nation, where George Washington is portrayed in the Continental Congress, and then we have the preservation of a nation, where Abraham Lincoln stands at Gettysburg. God has seen this nation through some difficult struggles from time to time, but He's always blessed us. He's always kept us moving forward, and we've always kept Him at the center of our thoughts in this great country. One of our Commonwealth's treasures is Benjamin Franklin. And when the Congress of the United States, meeting in Philadelphia, met after the end of the Revolutionary War, there was some discussion about not having prayer to open session, because they had prayer always during the Revolutionary War. And Benjamin Franklin stood up and said something like, in fact, I have the quote. He can say it so much more eloquently than I can portray it. In the beginning of the contest with Britain, when we were sensible of danger, we had daily prayers in this room for divine protection, he stated. Our prayers, sir, were heard, and they were graciously answered. Do we imagine we no longer need his assistance? It makes me reflect and think that in today's age, when it's not always as popular to have public prayers and to make sure that faith is a central focus in our lives, and to pass that along to younger people and make sure they understand the importance of that and the traditions and the history of our country and how we've always relied on God's gracious bounty and blessings to keep us moving strongly forward in this great nation. That's a reflection back then, over 200 years ago, of somebody that just almost said, we're okay now, we don't need to pray to God any longer. So I think that lesson from Ben Franklin is as important today as it was with the Continental Congress. So with all the folks that are here today and the people that have made this nation great and strong over the years, I stand with them and I stand for faith.
Thank you for those who've spoken, and thank you for all the legislators who've taken the time to come out today, and all of our guests. We really appreciate it. There's no question that we need to keep faith in America. And so to those of you out there who are watching this event here, thank you for the stand that you're taking. Pennsylvania joins with you. We believe in the blessings of God will come when this people ask. And so we here say that we want to keep faith in America. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending today.